to Stacy, so. Well, we can get started with the roll call and then when he jumps in, there he is. He made it.
There
Perfect.
is Nick. All right.
Welcome, everybody, to the Revere High School Building Committee meeting number 87. Today is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. The time is 5:34 p.m. Linda, roll call, please.
Thank you, Susan. I'm going to start with Mike Bacardi.
Here.
Daisy Rizzo will note as absent for now in case she joins later. Susan Gravellisi.
Here.
Dr. Kelly, absent. Carl Svensson.
Here.
Christopher Bowen.
Here.
Rich Viscay, absent. Don Ciaramella, absent. Nick Rystrom.
Here.
Mayor Keefe.
Here.
Tom Skorowski.
Here.
John Stamatopoulos, absent. Anthony Cogliandro.
Here.
Thank you. Don Martelli, absent. Joshua Miranda.
Here.
Chris Ciaramella.
Here.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Brian,
Ready to go?
over to you.
Sounds good. First, I just wanted to thank you all for joining a little out of sequence meeting tonight. I'd also like to thank Laura Garvey from Sanborn Head for being here in case we need to get into any more detail or ask questions. But we're really here tonight for two time-sensitive financial approvals related to the topic of soil management, soil handling. This is part of the culmination of the soil site-related issues that have impacted the schedule and that are controlling our ability to hold the currently reported schedule. So appreciate everyone being here. I am going to run through two slides quick, and then we'll stop for some questions. Again, we have Laura here from Sanborn Head. I got to get my Zoom controls out of the way. So we're going to cover left field contract amendment and budget revision request 14 first. This is a result of what we're going to see on the next page, which is why I would like to sort of just run through these quick, and then we can step back and go through questions. But this is an amendment to fund $135,960 for on-site dust monitoring devices, management of those devices, deployment of those devices. And they're a result of the RAM plan, which is, a technical document related to all the soil handling measures that we've been pulled into over the last number of months. So Consigli is responsible for dust control on the site. This requirement came in to basically have, I'll call them permanent devices, but obviously they're not going to be out there forever. They're going to be out there while we're doing site work, which we believe is a 12-month duration. We'll get there. And prior to all of this soil things really getting really deep, the assumption was that the limited areas that needed soil remediation on the site could have been monitored with handheld monitors. Because of the amount of what we found and because of the type of what we found, again, Laura could explain that in more detail, we need to put in actual monitors. And if those monitors go off, if some threshold is exceeded, Consigli would basically shut down the site to prevent potential impact, mostly to workers. So this is based on putting monitors out there for 12 months. As we go through site work over the next number of months, we will report back of whether that 12-month duration remains adequate. It's possible if certain things happen with the schedule, particularly as we work our way from the critical area, which is around the future building, up into the north part of the site. It's possible that we might need these out there a little bit longer, but for right now, 12 months is our best guess. That's what we're carrying in this proposal. And I wanted to note that we have instructed Sanborn Head to deploy these devices. They're already out there. We did that to support the schedule so that we could be still pushing dirt around, knowing that we have the requirement to put these out there. So these are on site. We instructed them to get it in the ground, so we didn't have to ask Consigli to stop. And it's also important to note that, like the next slide, none of these costs were budgeted in existing contracts or foreseen back at the time that we created the project budget. We created the project budget about 2 years ago, and at the time, based on the information we knew at the time, we did not think this site was anywhere near as complex from a geotechnical or geoenvironmental point of view as we learned in the last number of months. So this proposal, again, totals $135,960. It's to be funded by the owner's soft contingency. That triggers the need for a budget revision request, number 14, to move the money from contingency into basically left field's contract to manage Sanborn Head on this. And after this commitment, there's still 605,000 and change remaining in the soft contingency. We can totally stop there if we want questions, but I figured rolling into this, then pausing makes some sense. So stop me if anyone does have a question. But
Yeah,
the other,
just
sorry, go
quickly.
ahead, Chris.
So I'm just trying to understand. So this is the monitors are a result of the first round of sampling, soil samples that were the pre-characterization work that was done by Sanborn when?
I think that work started, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, in October.
That's correct. So we done some preliminary work in July. It was a limited number of test pits within the building footprint itself. We really kicked off in earnest doing the soil pre-characterization sampling in October, mid-October, I believe, and those results started to come in early November. As we're going through the data, we're processing the data, we're reviewing it against regulatory criteria, and we discovered we had a new reporting condition. That was reported to Mass DP on December 4th.
And that was that was everything that was found under the initial contract with Sanborn, correct?
We reported everything that we had found through end of November on December 4th.
Yeah, and I think, Laura, I think that was one of the earlier proposals through left field to start that before we moved the proposals that are the next slide into construction costs with Consigli. So
Yes, that's
I think
correct.
the short answer, Chris, is yes, it's a result from the initial wave of late summer, early fall investigations.
So this isn't something that came up with the subsequent testing beyond that? Is it just taking Mass DEP to approve the RAM that long, or
No,
Right.
it's something that, we prepared the RAM plan, and as part of the release abatement measure plan or RAM plan, you have to go through several steps, and one of those is a focus risk assessment. And as part of that, we look at current exposure pathways and current receptors on site, like construction workers and dust. And there are elevated concentrations of lead, arsenic, and benzoate pyrene in the soil here that are driving the risk. And those contamination concentrations were found in October and November, reported in December, and we started dust monitoring, I want to say mid-January.
okay?
We can keep thinking, keep the questions coming. I'm gonna just roll into this slide because again, it's all related. So this is the bigger picture, the culmination of the entire pre-characterization program. Back in November, the SBC via Consigli Amendment number 7 awarded a $1 million allowance, which at the time was our best guess of what this was all going to culminate into. Obviously, that guess was not good enough, wasn't adequate. And upon going through all that initial testing and following up on items that came up through that testing, this sort of menu of services is what we need to get through it. And Laura, just so you know, these are totals from the 3 separate proposals. that are going through consigli, all the task summaries. So we more or less are at the point where 1.668 million is the amount we need to complete the testing to support the critical path of the schedule moving forward. So the purpose of Consigli Amendment 8 is to increase the already awarded $1 million allowance to by 668,800, which at a minimum will get us through the GMP. It is still possible that in the next few months, particularly as we work away from the building footprint up into the north of the site, where a lot of the stockpiles currently are, there could be new items that spring out of that. If that's the case, we will propose adjusting this allowance again at GMP, which is consider that plus or minus April. But this is everything we know of now that can get us through that point. And all of this work is underway. This is all critical path work. The biggest bite of it is the actual testing, soil pre-characterization and testing, which is about a $1.1 million cost. And a lot of these subsequent items really help us keep to the regulations, properly handle soil, properly line up the landfills it's going to, making sure all the right forms and items down to the truck leaving the site are correct. And hopefully it will allow us to do this smoothly without any further slippage of the schedule. Similar to what I said before, all of these costs were not captured in the prior budget as a line item or in the 90% CD estimate. So these are funds that make it a little bit harder for the project to hit the reduced budget goal. But we have bids coming in over the next number of weeks that will allow us to resolve this all against that goal. And if we're meeting it, great. If we're not meeting it, we have strategies to then meet the goal. So I did just want to note these were anything related to all the soil handling that blew up on us late summer and into the fall was previously unbudgeted when we passed this project. So we're relying on the contingencies that we created then, and we're relying on the estimates being between, depending on the estimator, 10, 12 million under budget to fund all this while still meeting the budget goal.
So Brian, if I can just add on to that, so the budget goal, the reduced budget goal, the $10 million reduction is what we're talking about, the 483, not 493, just in the whole. And that is still the marching orders. So
Understood.
this is going to, this is going to have to make other decisions. We'll have to be more nimble and precise when it comes to everything that happens. And of course, we have contingencies built in. I mean, we probably have, I think, $30 million in contingencies. But if we lose it somewhere, we have to find it somewhere else. And that's the orders that we've given and we're all agreeing to. And I think that everyone agrees. I do want to point out, because I know there's a viewing public, and to make sure everyone understands, there's no risk to people that are walking by the site. This is very standard on a construction site of this size, especially, we all know, and I'm just going to say this, all over the entire state of Massachusetts, in most areas that have had any sort of industry, soil is typically has some contaminants in it. Some have more, some have less. We always knew going into the ground that there was going to be, the second you start cracking into it, there were going to be some issues, just like at a lot of our sites across the city and across the state. So obviously finding some of those contaminants, we're removing the contaminants because we're building a school there and we want kids to be safe and we want our public to be safe. So we're bettering the land. And these monitoring devices are, like you said, to make sure that if there's heavy construction and there's dust moving around, that the particles are not reaching humans and people, and they're being mitigated. And if there are, it's just like a smoke detector. The detectors go off, and everyone knows, stop what you're doing. Let have your mitigation methods. What matters, whether it's watering the site and so forth, to make sure that everyone's safe, putting on the proper equipment, and then going back to work. I just don't want anyone to see this and go, oh, geez, they have to monitor it because it's going to leach into the air and people on the beach are going to be exposed. They're no more exposed today than they were probably working at the track, 20 years ago. certainly probably more exposed there, but that's a whole nother story. We're bettering their environment at a cost, yes, not a happy cost, but it is. So I just wanted to also ask on the soil pre-characterization testing, where I would just say, Sanborn Head's on here, at that price, to say that there's more testing, can you give us an itemized bill on that? And I know that we're probably going to approve it because we want the work to move forward, but it'd be nice to see some itemizations on that 1.157 to give us a good understanding of how much that scope hit. Okay.
Yeah,
And
we can do that.
and the
Yep.
field observations, I think we talked about at the last call. This was for the staff to be on site for a certain amount of hours per the project, correct?
Yes, for the duration of, I think it's probably the easiest way to say this, for the duration of export of soil, Laura.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And does that also include the monitor, or is that separate?
The monitors are separate.
Okay. So, I think that we had sort of questioned that in the last meeting. And I'm not trying, but if we could just get a little more details on what this is going into, if you have a field observation, a $287,000 field observation, are we paying for a staff member? Are we paying for 2 staff members? Are we paying for 5 staff members? And it's good to know. I mean, that's something that maybe we can hire separately, and we hire just an independent person for ourselves.
So
It's a-
that is 1,600 hours of technician being on site. It
And
is
we will track it.
and we are tracking those hours. And yeah, we think that's going to bring us through
So
majority of the
1,600
earthwork.
hours is about a year's worth of work, a little less. Right? Right, so I mean,
Yep.
that technician's
Yes.
doing pretty
About 8
good,
months, yes.
don't you think?
I think where we track that, Mayor Keefe, is if we can get through the soil handling as efficiently as possible, there theoretically could be savings there if something else trips us up. It's an allowance for that reason. We are going to try to minimize it. The quicker we can get through handling the soil and get out of the exporting business, the sooner we don't need field observation anymore.
That's
Well,
right.
If I can just say that at 30 hours a week for 52 weeks, $287,000 is a pretty good employee.
It's
and I'm
actually
sure
a
that-
rate of, I can tell you it's 50 hours a week or more.
At 52,
Um,
at 50, 160 hours, you said, or 1,600 hours?
It's 1,600 hours. Assume
Okay,
50
hold on a
hours a week.
1,600 hours divided by 52 is 30 hours a week. I said for a year, but yes, okay. so
Yeah,
it's-
it covers about 8 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
at
again,
50 hours a
you're
week.
making my point.
Yeah.
An 8-month employee, that's pretty good.
Yes, well, it's also covers our time in the office to support that person, review submittals, answer questions.
You mean the?
It's more than just the field
MLSP
time. It's
Well, it
also a
says
certain
MCP
percentage of office
reporting
time.
Submittals is $73,000 in addition. So if I can get an itemized on these, it'd be great.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because
Yep.
the submittals say $73,000 here. So maybe Sanborn Head needs to understand the budget and the constraints and not think that this is a blank check.
Sure, and we can break that down for you, and we will track it all and try to minimize anything that is minimizable, is how I'd put it.
Is this tracked by Consigli or left field?
Technically both, but left field. You can put left field's name on it. It's more, I say that simply because it's Consigli's running the schedule and what's happening on a day-to-day basis. So that's sort of their part. When do we need these folks there? When are we trucking? Left field between myself, Brian Johnson, who's on site, more often than I am, will be tracking all that as well. So when Laura's invoices come in, that we can, by the time they get to you, we will have ensured that what they're billing is accurate and based on the effort, boots on the ground. Excuse me. Are there any of these questions? No. Okay, those aren't questions. Any other questions, comments on either? So we have, I put these on their own sheet, just,
Actually, one more question. I apologize.
yeah, go ahead, Chris. No apology needed.
So Sanborn Head is going to be installing these permanent air monitors. Does that mean Consigli no longer needs to be testing the the portable air quality monitors? Does that line item drop out?
I think it would have. I don't know the answer to that. Laura, could you help me out? If the idea before when we were just dealing with the two DEP release items was handheld?
Yes, those are drop off now that we're doing the perimeter ones
Okay.
in the larger area. That's correct.
Okay, let me just see if there's any hands. I think we need to do these separate. If there are no other questions or comments, we would entertain a motion first on left field, contract amendment number 9 and the associated BRR 14 to fund Sanborn Head dust monitoring per the DEP plan requirements in a total amount of $135,960.
If I can just ask another qualifying question, can we get details on all of these expenses to, the 135, is it for the equipment? Is it for the equipment plus the personnel? Is the personnel separate from the personnel that's going to be on the site?
Sure.
Yep, I can get you all that. It's all in the back here, what our assumptions were, and but if you need more detail, I'm happy to provide that.
Yep, we can break this down for all of
Yep.
you. And again, so do we have anyone to any motion or second here?
A motion to approve number 9? Are we doing both? I'm sorry.
We should do them in separate.
Okay. A motion to approve number 9 for 135,960.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will do the roll call. Mike Bacardi,
Yes.
Stacy Rizzo,
Yes.
Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Carl Svensson,
Yes.
Christopher Bowen,
Yes.
Nick Rystrom,
Yes.
Mayor Keith,
No.
Tom Skorowski,
Yes.
Anthony Cogliandro,
Yes.
Joshua Miranda,
Yes.
and Chris Sermella.
Yes.
Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Linda, that carried, right? 9?
Yep, we have 10 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries.
Second proposed motion to approve consigled contract amendment 8 and increase the existing $1 million owner's soil allowance by $668,800.
Motion to approve number 8 for consiglia for $668,800. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And the roll call, Mike Bacardi,
Yes.
Stacy Rizzo,
Yes.
Susan Gravellisi,
Yes.
Carl Svensson, Christopher Bowen,
Yes.
Nick Rystrom,
Yes.
Mayor Keith,
Yes.
Tom Skorowski,
Yes.
Anthony Cogliandro,
Yes.
Joshua Miranda,
Yes.
Chris Sermella.
No.
Okay. Motion still carries. 10 yeses, 1 no.
Sounds good. That's all we have for tonight. I'll note we're going to do the regular meeting with more updates February 18th. You should have a Zoom the week before. We'll get you an agenda and handout packet. Is there any other business or new business from the committee? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Name and address for the record if so. Seeing none, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
everybody. Thanks
Thank
again for
you.
the out of sequence meeting. Thanks.
Thanks.
Recording stopped.